Hello.
Hello. Whoa. That was so quick.
What am I answering?
Yeah.
It's not that I'm a desperate person who wants to hear another adult talk.
What I wanted to talk to you about was just, I guess I can picture the idea of distance learning for like a second grader. I don't know
Mhm.
why that's easier for me to imagine, but like when I think about high school education and how that works in this distance learning format, what classes are you teaching right now?
I'm teaching anatomy and physiology, and that's mostly juniors and seniors. And I'm teaching most of my docket is college tech prep level biology. So that's kind of our mid-range biology. It's not honors and AP, but it's also not standard. So I see the bulk of our sophomore class. And it's funny that you say you can picture it for a second grader because I'm the exact opposite. I can see my older kids, my high schoolers, using the tech more effectively than the third grader and kindergartner I've had at home, but they've done well. So distance learning, it's kind of funny that you ask about that because I think it's something that we didn't quite know what it would look like. We as a district came together and basically just shared what we knew, shared what we found effective and how to use it. And we basically said, we're going to do the best we can as compassionately as we can. So for my high schoolers, the one thing I've tried to do and my husband's tried to do is just be consistent. So we deliver video lectures or PowerPoint lectures. Then we have there's a site called Ed Puzzle where they can watch little videos and questions pop up, and then we'll have them do some virtual labs. But we also have some online meetings, and I know some English teachers who are having like small reading groups through Zoom or Google Meet. So we're trying to keep that connection with our students, but also keep sanity too.
Ordinarily, on a regular school day, right, your class would meet for like what, 50 minutes in a
Uh,
classroom?
82.
82. Oh my
Yeah, we're at
god.
blocks.
Are you still sticking to like what looks like a regular high school schedule? Like if your students were going to be meeting coming into your classroom at 11 o'clock, is that when you email them the link to the video lecture?
Oh, great question. No. So our high school has split it up that we have classes from 10 to 2:30. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, A block starts, and that's now an hour long. It was 82 minutes before, and now it's an hour. The second block is from 11 to 12, and then they put in lunch, which at first you'd be like, well, you're at home, you can eat anytime, but I can tell you that half hour for lunch that I get is amazing. and then and then from 12:30 to 1:30 is our C block, and 1:30 to 2:30 is our D. We have been told as teachers that from 8 to 10, we're expected to have that time for planning and prep. I know some teachers have given up some of that time to help students out. And I myself, though, I try to have my stuff online between 7 and 8 in the morning because I know some kids are early risers and they can get a head start. And in terms of like when the assignments are due, that's really at the teacher's discretion. So it doesn't have to be that the school day ends at 2:30. And I mean, before the school day really didn't end at 2:30 if kids had homework. So we try to plan for like an hour's worth of work each day, or a little more depending on the teacher.
When I think about this, I think about if this had happened to me, I would have found a way out of doing anything. Like, you know how like people are like, oh, the structure is good, right? Like the structure is good for you. People say that about joining the military. People say they need that in their school studies. I When I was in high school, I did so much everything I could to resist having a structure to my day, and this would be too much freedom for me. It would be way too much.
It's true. There is a lot of freedom. Some teachers have imposed that structure where they say we're going to meet at this time every day. Um, I know for my husband and myself, we've more tried to build consistency in the schedule rather than you have to do this at this time. That independence, though, is a very good point. A lot of us have struggled with that, and I think a lot of our students have too. Is You don't have a bell telling you where to go anymore. But for some of my students, it seems like they have thrived because they can work on their own schedule now.
But there are certainly other education formats, right, that are a little more open ended. There are other types of schools that operate on rules like that, right? We have like a workload that you have to just complete on your own path. This is becoming a common theme when I talk to people about what happens with COVID-19, but it's almost like something that was going to happen eventually is happening faster. So, like, alternative paths to education that, as you say, work better for some of your students. Do you feel like some of this is going to stick around once the pandemic is over?
That's actually been a question I've been throwing around with a lot of my colleagues, and I don't know. I look to the taxpayers and say the taxpayers have, paid for this beautiful building that we have to house students and paid for things to have people in contact with one another. So just from a pragmatic standpoint, I can see, well, it's not really practical. We've paid for these things. The one thing I can definitively say is in seeing my children and my students, they're craving that social interaction and they're craving that guidance that is critical in development and critical in who we are as a species. So to say we would go to a more online, I could see us going to a little bit more online, but I think there is something to be said for showing up and having that routine and having that interpersonal interaction where a teacher can walk through something with you. I don't think right now we're in what will become the normal, but I could see certain school districts saying, well, we've always talked about high schoolers needing more sleep. Maybe we adjust the school day to start later and do an online format so kids can tackle stuff earlier. So I think some districts might do that, but some districts may just want to rubber band right back to where we were because it's what they know and it's what they find is good. That's the tricky part about education is people have a lot of theories over what works best, and it's hard to collect good data over what actually is best for our kids.
You have two children in school, and also, as we've sort of hinted at, you're married to another teacher.
Yeah.
So how do you balance all that?
It's funny. Everybody I've interacted with that's talked to my husband has said that apparently he's singing my praises all over the place because I think part of it just boils down to we have different personalities. I absolutely adore my husband's ability to focus on things and have a level of excellence. I tend to be more distracted and tend to deal with the fires in front of me. So I've been handling a lot more of the in-home education, although I have to say my children have been very good on getting their work done. And their teachers have been providing that consistent, like my girls know what to expect every day. They know they have a meet at 10 o'clock every morning, and that meet's going to last anywhere from 15 minutes to a half hour. So that consistency, I can't speak to it enough, is really critical. So they have a comfort in knowing what they're supposed to do. But that being said, there are days where, just like you and I, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it either. But the fact of the matter is we have to. So I've been handling a lot more of it, not to say that he hasn't tried. We just have one girl in particular who doesn't like anybody's help but mom's. So, and it's funny, when I go to have a meet with my class, that's when my children choose to have a breakdown. So, but I've been juggling it. It's just tough because I'm trying to do my lesson planning, do my grading, all either during the hectic nature of a school day, or I'm trying to fit it in on the weekends and at night. So I feel like there are times where that's the hard part is I'm trying to be the teacher that I want to be. I'm trying to be the mother that I want to be. And I'm like meeting mediocre at both, but that's when I just got to forgive myself and say, I'm doing the best I can. My kids are fed and my students are receiving lessons every day. And if there's a day where, it doesn't get as good as I want it to be, that's just kind of how life is.
Since you and your husband are both science teachers, I'm very curious about your disinfection routine. I want to know, what do you guys use? Do you use the masks and the gloves when you go to the grocery store? What do you disinfect? How much do you
Oh,
disinfect?
how much do we disinfect?
Yeah. How long does the process take?
The process, it's funny. This is again where my husband and I are very different. I will use a mask and hand sanitizer, and I definitely want to keep my distance, which is socially acceptable. I believe if my husband had the capability, he would have a full level 5 biohazard setup for when we enter and exit the house with a full
Like an
hazmat suit.
airlock?
Oh my gosh, he would have the airlock and the showers, and I've received his permission to say this. But we're trying to keep it reasonable. I think the biggest difference we've seen actually is just in what we do with our children. Because before we would force our children to suffer through food shopping because, that's what you do. Now it's just the kids are really they're either at home or we're taking them for walks or hikes. So it's now a trip to the store is carefully planned for, okay, which adult is going, which car is going, make sure you have your mask. I know when we definitely, our biggest things right now are masks and hand sanitizer. And when we get home, we make sure we wash our hands. Um, so just being mindful of it. But I've always been of the frame of mind that there's only so much you can do. He tends to be a little more cautious, which is good. Again, why he and I are a good pair. So we're not fully soaking ourselves in bleach and UV rays yet, but we definitely take precautions.
I am glad to know that I was hoping you weren't going to say, like, so much more than we do. I think Christy and I both have the tendency to maybe overdo it on the disinfecting. We've
Mhm.
had there's like an hour extra to our grocery shopping where like the groceries get left on the porch and then like cleaned and then brought into the house kind of thing. So I don't. It's like half a day, when you go to the grocery store. And then the other thing is like, how am I suddenly spending so much money at the grocery store? Like, it's like, so one of two things is happening, right? Either I am not, I never paid attention to how much money I spent on groceries before, and suddenly I'm being honest with myself about how much I should really budget for, or like going out to eat once a week somehow saves me $400 in groceries.
Which no like financial coach would ever say go out to eat more, it saves you money. I
Yeah,
I bet it's a combination of price fluctuation due to supply chains being adjusted, and also you're probably paying attention more. Because what else are you gonna do? You're stuck home with two kids. You got to think about something.
it's also possible that I'm just losing track of the days and like I've added in a meal somewhere.